Several US states, as well as Nigeria's Kaduna state, have introduced castration as a punishment for child sex offenders, but Madagascar is one of the few countries in the world to mandate it at a national level. The shock measure, introduced by the president last year, aims to reduce the thousands of child rapes committed each year. In this refuge center for young victims, this 17-year-old girl told us her story.
I was raped by my stepfather from the age of 12 to 14. He blackmailed my mother and performed witchcraft. He would enter a trance and say that he had been possessed by a spirit that told him that someone wanted to kill me, and told my mother that in order to avoid this, she would have to buy 3 cows, or I would have to sleep with him.
Surgical castration is an operation during which the testicles are removed under anesthetic. The procedure reduces sexual urges but doesn't eliminate them entirely. Since the passing of the law, no surgical castrations have been performed, but several international organizations, as well as the Catholic Church of Madagascar, have denounced it as an affront to human dignity. For this teenager, though, it's a fair punishment.
Rapists deserve castration because they don't know how to control their sexual desires and want to satisfy their urges on anything that moves. They deserve it.
Since the arrest of her stepfather and mother, she has stayed at the center and has been able to continue her studies. She has found comfort confiding in Anta, the director. A former resident herself, Anta was raped by her cousin at the age of 5. She fears that castration could reinforce the feelings of guilt experienced by many young victims.
Most of the girls here are victims of rape committed by their own fathers. The subject of surgical castration is something they're only now becoming aware of. They don't yet understand what the purpose of it is. And the girls feel guilty because it's something that will physically affect their fathers.
A number of groups have urged the government to channel resources into helping the victims rather than to surgical procedures estimated to cost €70 per operation. For the past 3 years, the Justice Ministry has failed to pay the full subsidy allocated to this centre, depriving children of much-needed medical and psychological care.
The lack of funding is having serious consequences for the centre. When we do routine checkups, for example, it's important to do blood tests, but they're very expensive, so we can't do that.
For months, public unease has surrounded the new law. Neither the Academy of Medicine nor the National Doctors Association have spoken out publicly. But according to this surgeon, who requested to remain anonymous, most doctors are afraid to openly challenge the law, but refuse to perform an operation that contradicts their professional ethics.
We're not ready to follow through with this, at least for most of us. We're scared of blowback, of punishment, and legal action. One of our colleagues faced a situation like this when he was the head of a medical facility in Tomasina.
Many lawyers have denounced a law that they say was passed in haste without considering certain traditions that led to the problem in the first place.
When senior authorities come to visit an area and spend the night there, there is always a supply of underage children, sometimes virgins, made available to them. In the western and northern regions of Madagascar, there are young girls who already have their own hut and can bring whoever they want inside. We need to recognize that this is the culture before working out how to suppress it.
The corrupt justice system is a key enabler of continued abuse.
As you know, some officials are involved in sexual relations with minors. But these figures always get away with it. We need to fight corruption. The powerful will never be prosecuted if you don't fight corruption.
The majority of convicted child rapists are poor, as is the case with this man, who was arrested for allegedly assaulting his 11-year-old stepdaughter. With limited space at home, they shared a bed. In his view, she was sexually mature.
When I took naps with her mum, she wanted to come join us rather than go out to play. She's quite grown up. She no longer has the mentality of a child. She's always looking for sex.
As part of a recent assessment by the UN Human Rights Council, Chile, France and Spain recommended that Madagascar repeal its castration law. The country's Justice Ministry stands by the legislation, arguing the punishment is necessary to counter the problem of child sex abuse in Madagascar.